Hello again, Stackers! In this video we'll take a look at Tales of the Arabian Nights, the storytelling game. In the box you get a game board, rulebook, book of tales with a matrix, and 6 player reference boards. There are also 4 decks, encounters for various people, things, and places that you'll come across, a treasure deck which contains treasure, 28 sets of status cards which I like to keep in a binder, and quest deck for going on quests. There are 6 different characters to choose from that comes with a set of tokens. Each has a reversible gender player marker, destination, destiny, story, wealth, origin, and 3 quest tokens. 18 different skills with talent and master level signs. Destiny and story point tokens, time tokens which is used with the encounter deck, and lastly a pair of regular dice and 1 destiny die, which I'll explain later. Before the game begins, you must choose how many story and destiny points you want to collect to win. You must travel the land and seas where you encounter people, cities, and wonderful yet dangerous places. All manner of things will happen to you, such as changing into a beast, being given the title of sultan, or becoming the opposite sex. As your story goes on, your destiny will change and you will even receive the ability to choose your own fate. Complete your quests and collect your rewards. When the time is right, return to Baghdad and celebrate your triumphant return. Everyone chooses a player reference, character stand-up, and related player markers to that character. Place your character stand on Baghdad, then place your destiny and story markers at their starting respective sides. Set your wealth marker at poor and have the rest of the markers near you for later use. Each player gets a quest card. Quests are tasks that, when completed, earns the player some rewards, including treasure, destiny, or story points. Once a player finishes a quest, they get a new one. Place the encounter deck with the time token set at morning, have the treasure cards next to the other decks. Place the status cards in a nice binder. Now choose your victory formula. Your victory formula is the sum of your destiny and story points that equal 20. It can be 10 destiny and 10 story, 1 destiny and 19 story, 11 destiny and 9 story, you get the point. Keep these hidden throughout the game. Players then receive different skills. Roll dice to see who goes first. You will receive 3 random skills. We like drawing from a cup. Set these skills to talent. Later in the game, players will get the opportunity to improve the skills to master level, allowing those players to choose your own destiny. Now, let me explain some other rules before we get into the game. The flow of play begins with the passing of the Book of Tales. The person to the left of the current player gets the book and becomes the reader, while the person to the right gets the matrix. Second, check treasure and statuses. If you have any treasure that can be used or statuses with effects, that happens now. Third, move your character. This depends on the level of wealth your character is currently at. Fourth, resolve your encounter. Draw an encounter card, and in some cases, refer to a status or quest card. Choose your reaction from the matrix, read the passage from the book, and at the end of the passage, you'll get your results. Fifth, play city cards and resolve requests. And 6, check for victory. So now let's get into how movement works in the game. When a player moves, they either move by land or by sea. Each space is either sea, mountain, plains, forest, island, or city terrain. The number on a terrain relates to encounters. There are also places of power, but they act differently from your normal kind of encounter. The number of spaces you can move is determined by wealth. For example, since players start at poor, they can only move up to 3 spaces by land and 2 by sea. The maximum number of spaces you can move is the highest number between the two. In this case, it is 3. This means you can move up to 3 spaces, up to 3 land movement, and up to 2 sea movement. A character of a wealth level of respectable or rich can move up to 4 spaces, 4 up to land or sea, but only 4 maximum spaces. You can have a different kind of encounter when you are at a place of power. All places of power have a picture of that place on the map, like the Cave of Wonders or the City of Brass. You can only move onto these spaces if you have a destination marker on it, and if you are moved there by an encounter or an item. After you move, it's encounter time! If you join an encounter, you meet this person. Depending on the day of time, either morning, noon, or night, you look at what kind of character you'll meet. If you get a city card, you'll find what encounter you face in the book from the number at the bottom of the card. After the encounter, you may choose to visit that named city later. The card has a city name, a minimap of where the city is located, and a result chart. After a successful encounter at that city, you may use that card to roll a die and receive the results shown on the card. It may reward you with talent, points, or even another encounter. The card is discarded after use. If it's a terrain card, you may get a special encounter if you match a specific terrain space. Each treasure will have its name, flavor text, its effect, value if you sell it, and the max wealth you can gain if you do. There are a total of 28 different status cards in the game. Depending on your various outcomes in your encounter, you may receive one of these cards that may help or hinder you, or make you look like a belligerent fool. There are some more rules, but those will be explained in the walkthrough. During the walkthrough, I will go over gameplay phase by phase to help you understand how the game works. We will follow Scheherazade for this demonstration. She begins with the bargaining and evaluation, weapon use, and luck skills. At the beginning of the turn, we're going to pass the Book of Tales. We check status and treasure, and we have none. Scheherazade's wealth is at poor, so she moves from the forest space to somewhere on the Mediterranean Sea, moving a total of 3 spaces. Next, we draw an encounter. This is a character card of a hunchback. It is still morning, and our paragraph is number 86. She rolls 2 dice, adding any space in destiny modifiers, and the reader looks up what kind of hunchback she meets. She got a result of 8, and it's a dying hunchback, and we go to Matrix C. The reaction she'll choose is Enrich. The Matrix reader looks where dying and Enrich meet. Now we go to paragraph 1891. Wait. Roll the destiny die to determine your fate. We add 1, so we go to paragraph 1892 instead. The reader finds passage 1892 and reads the first paragraph.
The other lay in a ditch, too ill to survive. You sit and comfort him until he passes. You learn that he was a wealthy merchant before his illness cost him his health and his fortune. His greatest wish would be to see his business flourish one last time before he dies.
Now at this point, the reader will ask if the current player has any certain skills located after the first paragraph. There is an option for no skills if any aren't available. Scheherazade does have the bargaining and evaluation skill and now has the option to use it. Note that you may only use one of your skills. Scheherazade chooses to do so, and the reader reads that paragraph.
The other has very unusual business ideas, but you see the potential in it. You are sad that he didn't live long enough to see it, but his heirs will be well cared for. D1, S1, W+1, Max Princely.
At the end of each passage, you'll get results that are notated like this. I'll break it down for you. First, you get D1, 1 destiny point. Second, you get S1, 1 story point. And lastly, W+1 Max Princely means you earn a wealth point so long as it doesn't surpass Princely. Scheherazade has the Seek Love quest card, but it doesn't activate now. Not bad, but Scheherazade's turn is now over. But let's move ahead a few turns and play another sample. Scheherazade got some new stuff, including a city card from Alexandria, a new talent in magic, and a crippled status. She's crippled, so her movements are reduced by 1. She now draws his Serendib encounter card. The reader looks at the bottom of the card to find the passage number, which is 54. Scheherazade rolls both dice again and adds any modifiers to it. She finds a small artifact, and the corresponding reaction matrix is E. It looks like she's going to go examine it. Roll for fate, but there's no change. Matrix holder finds passage number, reader finds passage, and reader reads passage. The reader begins reading.
An old man, hunched by the roadside, is selling a magical bead on a necklace for a great sum.
Now the reader asks for the skills bargaining and evaluation, or magic. She has both, but the reader says that since she has the bargaining and evaluation skill, it's mandatory, which means Scheherazade has no choice but to choose it. Oh, and by the way, mandatory outcomes are usually not very nice things. The reader continues reading.
You can see the bead is worthless and ignore his offer. D-1.
The result is D-1, -1 to destiny. Sometimes even having talents aren't so great. Now let's use that city card. She rolls and gets a 1. Looks like it's a weapon use talent skill. That city card is discarded and it's the end of the turn. Let's have one more last example. This time let's upgrade the weapon use skill to mastery. Check stats, move, and then draw an encounter. Ooh, it's a terrain, Pavilion of the Black Giant. First, let's check if we have a matching symbol. And yes, we have a match. Go directly to Matrix N and choose a reaction. Now it looks like Scheherazad's gonna attack it. Looks like the passage is 1221. The reader goes to 1221, but since Scheherazade has the mastery skill in weapon use, she doesn't have to roll the fate die yet. The reader looks ahead to see if the current and neighboring paragraphs has a weapon use passage. Using any mastery skill goes to that passage directly. There's a chance for a good reward, but be careful. Using a mastery skill doesn't always mean a good outcome. Any mandatory passages are kept secret. If you prefer not to use any mastery skills, then you must roll. Will Scheherazade use her skill, or will she roll instead? Perhaps this is where I leave you off in suspense. Most of the status cards can be lost by following the text on the bottom of the card. Effects of status can be good or bad, but they must be followed. If other players forget to do their status effects after their turn, that turn stands, so kindly remind players to follow their cards. Going back to wealth, one must at least own a treasure to have fabulous wealth. There is a possibility that you can die in the game. If you do, you may still keep your skill, story, and destiny points. You might get a generic encounter that uses the two words, the other. While not necessary, you may substitute a character's name tied to the event instead of using the other. For example, a text that reads, "The other walks into a bar," can be read instead as, "The foolish prince walks into the bar." Starting the review first, the box is great. I have no trouble fitting the components, and even the insert is decorated. The rules are written very well and is clear. It even includes interesting facts about the books this game is based on, and bios for the characters. The game board itself is magnificent. It is one of the highest quality boards I have ever seen. The colors are vibrant, the numbers and symbols are easy to see, and it looks like it was from another time. The only complaint I have is that the character stands can bunch up together, making some of the features on the board difficult to see. The rest of the components are also wonderful and are very good quality. When you first get this game, you understand why the box is heavy. It is because of this heavy book of tales. It's roughly 2 pounds and 4.5 ounces. It is written in a quirky way similar to the styles found in the books. It doesn't get too violent or too scary, but it can be funny sometimes. Also, I never had a hard time finding any of the passages since each of them is clearly marked. And with 2,600 passages, you will never play enough games to listen to all the stories. Well, that's a good thing in this case. So here are some of my pros. It is simple and almost anyone can play it. For those who like those choose your adventure books, this is it in board game form, but bigger and better. Now as for the cons, the game is totally random. The game is meant to be for the story and the theme. A game of Arabian Nights can get very long, and if you don't like reading, then you can forget about this game. While tales have some flaws, the theme and story aspect truly make this game stand out. There aren't many games like this, and perhaps the Agent of Smirch is the only game like it. Perhaps even Arkham Horror and Talisman can come close. I personally wish that there were more games like this. Any designer care for a challenge? The stories are what helps Tales make up for its lack of gameplay, because if you remove the theme, it will be just a move here and get this kind of game. Tales is best played with 3 players. 4 is pushing it, 5 and 6 are no-nos. But what I do is, if you get a good reader or a willing enough actor friend, I would designate that extra player as a storyteller. Believe me, it makes the game go a little faster. I want to point out skill tokens. I think there are too many and make setting up, cleaning up, and searching in a pile for one a hassle. So I made this sheet to keep track of skills instead. So here are my final thoughts. If you're looking to take a break from some highly brain-taxing games, I think Arabian Nights is good. If you have a couple of hours to burn with your non-gamer friends, then I think Arabian Nights is great. If you want to escape to a land where fate takes control of you, then seriously snap out of it and get a life. Get some friends and play Arabian Nights. Also, I wish there was another game like this. So please, anyone, make another game like this, whether it's another generic fantasy, Greek myth base, Egyptian myth base, King Arthur and the Vikings, Space Octopus, or hey, how about steampunk? Thanks for watching. Don't forget to comment below and tell me what theme would you like to see in a Choose Your Adventure board game. Visit us at Facebook and follow us on Twitter. This has been the Cardboard Stacker, and remember that the most tantalizing tales are told at the twilight hours. Lady Lavender snatches another painting. Mrs. White moves, but she's too far away. Once all players are done, the first card is revealed and the auction begins with the first player.